Hello, everybody. Rudy here, and welcome to the Rudy Show. I am your host, Rudy. This is my show. It's been a while since I recorded one of these. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, or either way, on screen you will see some Azalane gameplay that has no relation to what I'm talking about. I just thought you should have something to look at, and Azalane is like the biggest thing on my channel right now. So I'm like, let's just put on some Azalane gameplay. Just to give you something to like have on in the background. And sometimes having stuff in the background, it's like nice just to have something on screen, even though you're not necessarily like watching it. Like just to have like motion going on outside just kind of feels good sometimes, at least for me. And I think it's the same for a lot of other people. But yeah, welcome back to the Rudy Show. And it's been a while, like I said earlier, since I recorded. Heck, I think it has been over a month since I recorded an episode of the Rudy Show. Maybe 2 months, actually. I think it was in March, and then I published my latest episode. The most previous episode was back in April, like early April. That's crazy. But a lot has been happening in my personal life. And also, I just been kind of lagging it, to be honest. And I got sick, to be fair. I have been sick for the past week, which sucks, but I am doing a lot better now. I just have this mild cough that comes up every now and again. But other than that, I am pretty okay. Hope everybody else is doing well. But yeah, I want to talk about Men's Mental Health Month. Also, Happy Pride Month, by the way. We'll have a Pride-themed episode soon. These episodes are going to become more frequent, but they're going to be shorter. At least that's the plan. I'm not exactly sure how often. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say how frequent they will be, but they will be shorter. Maybe like around 30, 40 minutes at a time. And yeah, I want them to be more focused, and it's also just less straining on my talking voice, on my Thressie. To just record shorter episodes, because growing up I didn't really talk much in school, and even at home I didn't really talk too much. At least I don't think I did. But I think because of that, my vocal cords just did not develop the strength to talk for a long time, so I get very tired. My voice literally gets exhausted, and I'm like, I gotta be quiet for like I gotta get some sleep to reset my voice sometimes. And that usually happens after talking for like just 2 hours, pretty frequently, pretty frequent conversation. And I get a little raspy in the voice and quieter than I already am. I'm a pretty soft-spoken person to begin with. But yes, okay. I went on a tangent there. There is Mental Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month. A lot of my channel viewers are gentlemen. At least that's what the YouTube statistics show me. And I think because YouTube is fairly new to the whole like being inclusive, they added pronouns to channels, which is pretty neat. But I still don't think that entirely reflects this in the stats that I get as a YouTube like creator. And I wish those stats would be a bit more accurate, like how many non-binary people watch, how many trans people watch, that sort of thing. I think that is important statistics. Like, we are not invisible. We are out here. Please show us in the stats. And I think men's mental health is kind of connected to Pride Month in much more tighter way than I think people might initially think, especially cis people. If you are unfamiliar with the term cis, that means you identify with your assigned gender at birth. I'm going to get into some phrases here, because if you do not identify with the gender at birth, you could be a variation of things. You could be an AMAB who identifies as a woman, or nothing, or something else. So it's the term AMAB means assigned male at birth, and then AFAB is assigned female at birth. So that I personally, whenever I try to like talk generally about like even dating or even just people in general, I don't say women sometimes. Like I sometimes try to avoid saying like, oh, women do this, or men do this, or men think this. I like to say AMABs think this, AFABs think this. It still is general way speaking, that isn't healthiest, which I do so consciously of knowing that, you know, general sweeping statements are just for fun, really, like not really taking them too seriously, unless there is a statistic about it of like, yes, AMABs, 87% of AMABs in this survey show that they behave, blah, you know, like unless I could point to a statistic like that, that's when I would speak a bit more seriously about a general statement. But overall, though, I am aware general statements can be pretty unhealthy. But I think it's important that as educated people, that you do not take general sweeping statements seriously. Even if somebody makes it, even if it offends you, like, don't take it seriously. And I think that also kind of goes in hand of like hateful comments. Don't take it seriously. I think even taking it seriously even feeds into people who identify with those big negative sweeping thoughts. Heck, I was like, we're going to talk about the Pride Month episode later, but this is men's mental health. But hey, you know, like I said, I think they're kind of more connected than I think we give it credit for. But anyways, yes, like I feel like people who give those big sweeping statements credence are the same people who will identify with them. So I make those statements as a joke, like haha, nudge nudge, because like I know they're not meant to be taken seriously, so that's why I so easily say them, because I think words with intention are the ones that hold the weight. But yes, you should also keep in mind of like what your words, like the effect it has on other people, definitely. But I think it's also like important to be kind of clear with where you are standing, like with a subject that you are making a statement about, before you start to like make egregious statements about something like a sensitive topic around someone you're unfamiliar with. It's because sometimes I make jokes around my friends that I think like, oh, they'll know I don't really mean this, because they know me, right? But sometimes they don't, and I have to clarify sometimes. I'm like, hey, that's a joke because I know that's incorrect because da 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 da. Like I take out the angles of which discredits that statement, and so they understand where I'm standing in whatever subject I am making a comment on. But yeah, I forget where this started. I forget where this all started. This is not even 10 minutes into the episode, and I've gone on 2 tangents already. I don't know if that's good or bad. And this is what happens when I am just talking by myself and I don't have a guest, which I would really want to have one guest in particular on this show. My good friend Michael, who just got a new job that is pretty well connected to the theme of mental health, which is why I think you would be an amazing guest for this show, for me and other reasons as well, because he is just a great fellow. But future guests most likely will happen. So kind of winding back a bit, we're winding it back to, I forget what my tangent was starting. Like, I know we're talking about, I started talking about terms, AFAB, AMAB. And somehow I got into talking about generally like general statements. Trying to roll back the tape in my mind. Yeah, I feel like men's mental health is really well connected to Pride Month, because a lot of men's mental health is challenged by men's own like toxic masculinity. And I think what people I think what isn't really in the conversation as well in terms of feminism and LGBTQ rights is just cis men, like the plights that they have and with their own gender identity and how self-destructive it can really be. And I that is also an important part of feminism, LGBTQ rights, you know, is how men treat themselves and how they treat themselves is a reflection of how they treat other people. And a lot of, you know, toxic masculinity is this idea of like, you gotta be tough, you gotta not talk about emotions, you just gotta push through it. And then men have to be men. Like there was no alternative. But there are a lot of different ways of expressing masculinity. And those ways of expressing masculinity is not exclusive to AMABs, you know? So that's why I think the topic of men's mental health and LGBTQ is actually pretty connected. But I am not a gender studies or LGBTQ or man expert. I say I'm not a man expert, even though I am an AMAB myself. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm an authority to speak upon men. Excuse me. But personally, I identify as non-binary. And it's kind of a joke. Not joke as in like I don't take it seriously, but like kind of a joke as in like I don't really care. Like if someone refers to me as a woman, I like it. I find it a bit affirming, but I'm also not totally like, yes, I am a woman. Like I don't like, that's why I don't think I'm like trans in the like, I guess, extreme sense. Because there was a conversation about non-binary people being trans themselves, even though they may not entirely experience gender dysphoria as a trans woman or man may feel. Like they, like when you think of like a trans person, I think typically people think of like, yeah, trans man, trans woman. And being non-binary, it's still transitioning your gender identity from what you were assigned at birth, but not entirely to a, like in a binary sense. It is more so in a big circular sense, like, or big spectrum sense is like you're transitioning from one space to another space on the gender board, you could sort of say. And yeah, so that's the one conversation people are having right now. I don't know exactly how people entirely feel about it, because I remember when I heard about it, I was kind of shocked about it. I was like, what? And I wasn't shocked or like offended, but like I was just kind of alarmed by that, because for this longest time I was kind of feeling that like trans identity is important and the experience of trans people are important, and I was like, I don't feel like I can connect to that. But when someone explained it to me that way of like, you are transitioning from your identity at birth to another sort of identity, that makes you trans in a way. So I was like, that's really interesting. But yeah, going a bit again to my personal identity. I identify as non-binary, don't entirely feel female, don't entirely feel male. Sometimes I don't even feel like either one. Sometimes I just feel like, oh, I'm here. I'm Rudy. I exist on this earth with people. So like if people refer to me as they, them, I'm cool with that. And I don't really feel entirely bad if people refer to me as him, bro, whatever. And in some sense, I've really enjoyed that, mostly because I really enjoy the sort of identity and connection I have with my AMAB bros who are cis. I do like, and pretty much all my friends who are AMAB cis males are pretty conscious and accepting and embracing of the LGBTQ. And because of that, I do feel that uh like that just makes it feel better just to be like, bro. I don't know why. But personally, when I kind of learned about, like, got educated on what it's like to be non-binary and gender expression, I do feel better about it. Like, I do feel better about identifying that way rather than just a man, because I don't know, I feel like being just man just kind of restricted what sort of traits can be associated to me. And I'm not saying that the traits that I feel that were exclusive or like excluded from the label of man like cannot be identified to a man, because like I said, there are many different ways to express masculinity. I just felt that it made me feel a bit more open and free, and helped my mental health a bit. Yeah. Like I don't know, just kind of like, you know, those dudes who are like, I'm sorry for being a dude. Excuse me. Like, they try to come at an angle of like, I'm woke. I understand what women feel. I'm sorry for being a dude because dudes are pretty fucked up. I do kind of identify with that sentiment a bit, or I did at the time. Like, and by at the time I meant like maybe like 5-6 years ago. I think maybe earlier than that. I don't really know how I felt about gender in 2018, 2019. That was a very different time in my life. A very different mindset than I have now. But when I was younger, especially, like, I could think of like back in high school feeling that way. That, you know, just kind of feeling negative about being a man. But I think as I sort of connected to the label of non-binary, I kind of feel like I could kind of look at that label from an outside perspective and kind of realize that, like, being a man isn't entirely limiting. But this kind of understanding, like, those traits don't really like, those negative traits, I kind of felt like, sorry for being a man. Like, they aren't permanent, and honestly probably aren't even like part of being a man, quote unquote. I'm saying all this because I have no idea what to say. No, I'm saying all this just to kind of make the point of, like, men's mental health is interwoven with the idea of toxic masculinity, which is why there is even a men's mental health month, because we have to put a spotlight on it, because that's an issue that we are not addressing. We are getting slowly and slightly better at it, but there still is a lot of work needed to be done. And part of that work is to dismantle toxic masculinity. And I think when people think about that term, I think even the men that are sort of in the conversation of when we talk about toxic masculinity, the ones who get really, like, offended by that are the ones that are like, yeah, that's those sort of ideals that you hold so, like, close to you are the reason why we are having this discussion. Because you are damaging yourself. You don't even know it. You are damaging the people around you because you want them to feel the same way as you. Yeah, it's like a whole can of worms there, which also I don't feel fully equipped. Maybe I am. Maybe, I don't know why I'm just crediting myself. I am born a male. I was assigned male at birth. I think I could speak on behalf of some men, at least some of them. I don't know. And, you know, I played this game as Elaine, as you are seeing on screen. I think a lot of people get the wrong idea about, I don't know, sexiness. Like, I don't want to. I'm trying not to comment on the game. I should probably not say. I'm trying not to comment on the game so that way, like, one, if you're watching, you don't feel like, what the heck, this doesn't sync up. But also like for viewers to not feel like, I guess, left out in a sense, to still feel like they're getting a full experience. I got distracted again. Shoot, what was I saying? I got distracted. Oh no. Oh no. I feel like, I don't know if I'm hitting any points. I feel like, I am purposely speaking vaguely, like, because I feel like if I were to speak upon a specific point, that would also stray the conversation to a different subject. Which again, I'm trying to do this in 30 minutes. I'm practicing 30-minute podcasts, which is very hard to do when your mind goes all over the place like mine does. This is fun though. I don't really give myself time to just like think. And I think doing a podcast by myself is a way to think out loud. Of course, I do so with a bit of a censorship, personal censorship, because I don't want to get demonetized. Yeah, because this is sort of one of the main things I do, which, by the way, I started selling my collection of video games, and I've kind of gotten into the idea of reselling video games, which that also may be an episode in itself, because there is a lot to unpack when it comes to reselling, I feel like. And I don't know if my audience really cares, because by now we're playing a free-to-play mobile game that only charges you if you want to look at the character and the new outfit. So I don't know entirely like if the people who watch my channel, are they console gamers generally or PC gamers? How do they feel about buying games at full price when they're new? How do they feel about retro games? I don't know about that. So, okay, if you're listening on YouTube, let me know in the comments, what other games do you play? What consoles do you play on, or do you play on PC? Do you buy new games, or do you wait for them to drop in price after being out for like a year or two? Let me know. I'm really curious about that. But yeah, I'm into reselling games. Although I'd say I've only made one successful flip. All the other ones I've lost like maybe $1 or broke even. And my successful flip, I've just made $6. So I'm plus $6. It doesn't feel like it, but I am. But I am saving money to go to a convention to hopefully buy a lot of inventory for my store, which I do want to do a small vlog. I'm going to kind of get into vlogging a little bit. So hope you all look forward to that, which should come out next week. If I could not be lazy and actually like put it out. But yeah, I think that would also be really good practice for vlogging Anime Expo, which I do want to go to, because Azure Lane, this game you're seeing on screen, has a booth there, and I really, really want to go, because I really want to get the merch that's there and kind of tell you all about the experience. And because I know they have cosplayers there, and I don't know if you could take photos with them, but I at least want to get photos of them, because I think it's really cool when there are Azure Lane cosplayers, because these designs are really intricate and they're beautiful, and to see somebody like bring them to life is incredible to me. And I really want to see that. That's like, I know they had a booth there last year, and that's the part I like regret not being a part of the most, is the cosplayers. Like I want to see them. And if I could take a photo with them, even from a distance, that'd be really cool. And I definitely want to let you all know about it, because I know not everybody who watches this channel is from the West Coast. So it'd be good to give you all a little window into that. And maybe I could do a giveaway. Like maybe I could buy a little extra like keychain or poster and then do a giveaway. That'd be really fun, just to thank the people who watch the channel. And I really am grateful to people who watch the channel still, because I've been absent for like a month. I don't even know how long I've been recording for, because I am busy playing a gosh darn video game. I should have kept my phone on the side as like a timer. This episode is all over the place, isn't it? How do you like it? How do you like these super disjointed episodes? Which I do want to say, if you're listening on Spotify, if you have listened to my previous episodes, and also at the end of this episode, you are given the ability to rate the podcast. So if you could give it 5 stars, I'd be super appreciative of that, because then that pushes this podcast to get shown on like people suggested pages and stuff like that. So I would really appreciate that a ton. What else? Oh yeah, I got merch. Merch is still available. The link to that is, if you're on YouTube, which I think that's probably the only way you can really find. I should probably put a link to my YouTube in my beacons. But if you're on YouTube, you can see like there should be like a bar that shows my merch. You click that, and it should take you to the store, I believe. But we got cool swag. Do kids still say swag? I say swag because I am a millennial, or a Gen Z, a millennial Z. I don't know. That sounds disgusting. I probably shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I'm born in that sweet spot of like, are you a millennial? Are you a Gen Z? I don't know. We are about the closing time for this episode. We are almost 30 minutes already into it. 30 minutes doesn't feel like a lot of time. I feel like, yeah, I should stick to an hour, but no, Rudy, don't second guess yourself. Go with the 30-minute episode. I feel like I just barely touched upon subjects. I don't feel like I got to explore them all that well, but it is really hard to explore subjects when you're by yourself. So that's why I really can't wait to get guests on the show, just to bounce off ideas. I hope everybody is doing well. Like I said, rate the podcast if you are on Spotify with 5 stars. I'd really appreciate that at the end of this. If you're listening on YouTube, hit a like. Check out my merch. I will soon be buying samples. Although one of my friends bought my merch, and that's really cool of him. And it came out pretty cool. But I would really like to get some samples and be able to show all of you what they look like. Which that would be a video in itself, of course. Yeah, so this episode was all over the place. And I feel like I talked about nothing, even though I kind of touched upon a lot of subjects. We briefly talked about LGBTQ, AMABs, AFABs, that sort of thing, trans, non-binary, my personal history with being non-binary, toxic masculinity and how that is connected to Men's Mental Health Month, which, by the way, is connected to LGBTQ rights a lot more than I think people generally think. Yeah, we touched upon a lot of subjects in this episode, all while looking at beautiful boat girls, if you're on YouTube. Yeah, this is a very funny return to form. Personally, I feel like this is funny because, like I said, I just rambled. I just finished my cup of coffee before I recorded this, so I was like caffeinated and my brain's going everywhere. I don't want to end this episode. Like, I don't know how to end the episode. After this, I think I need to like write down a script to like, these are my closing statements. So I could know that I'm wrapping up an episode. Because it's hard to say goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye, isn't it? But we got to do it because we got to move on with life, on to the next thing. That's what life is all about. The next thing. Yeah, I really appreciate you listening. If you're on YouTube, I love you because you're part of the reason why I'm able to do this, because like I'm like, oh, okay, there is an audience that would be interested in. If you're listening on Spotify, I also super love you. I do know that some friends and family do listen to this, so I really appreciate them for that. Like I said, rate the episode 5 stars. This has been The Rudy Show. Next episode, I don't know what we'll talk about, but we'll talk about something. Thank you for listening to me ramble for 30 minutes. I'll catch you on the next one. All right? Take care of yourself. Bye.